asked throughout a campaign with the confidence rising. I told WDF don't switch, good times are coming on even deep diving. Fan cams, reactions, watch alongs to the pride of London thriving. The Eagles of South they flying. Keep your eyes on us, we ain't hiding.
Yes, guys, welcome. This is TACT Eagle from Eagle Eye Football for our upcoming game against Brighton. As always, I'm joined here with Mr. Statman Dan, wearing probably one of my favourite shirts, in my opinion. Classic.
Yeah, it's great shirt. I've got Moses on the back as well.
Oh, even better. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, all good. Just been chilling, just making sure I'm up to date with this. And yeah, just nervously looking forward to the game on Thursday. What about you?
Yeah, me too. My only issue is that I've got to come from New Cross to go all the way back to Sellers Park to go watch the game and to go all the way back to Clapham again after. So that's going to be fun.
Oh, that's going to be long. That's going to be a long old night for you.
And then I got to do the fan cams as well. So I don't think I'm going to be sleeping very much.
Yeah.
But if we get a win, it's all going to be worth it.
Oh, 100%.
I'll probably say that if we win, the fan cams are coming out that night. If we lose, don't be don't be surprised if the fan cams come out when I get home from work the next day. So
yeah, I mean, I think this is obviously the game that everyone wants to win throughout the season. Like, I'm sure we would happily take a win. Like, I'm sure, right, we would rather take winning one game against these guys than beating a couple of the big six in one season. I think that is without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh, I think that goes without saying, really.
I'd rather lose every single game against a big six side than
still smash these guys up.
And still smash these lot.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the predicted 11. So, as we normally do before we go into this, we go through all of the injuries, and we'll start with Brighton because theirs is potentially worse than ours, or level, probably. So,
yeah.
First of all, we've got Ansu Fati, Estepinian, Webster, Lamptey, and Cisco, Veltman, and Solly March are all out injured, not available for this game. I think Nate was saying yesterday or the day before, whenever this video comes out, that Matoma's not playing. He can play. He just needs one more yellow, and then he's off. Same thing with Lewis Dunk. So Matoma and Dunk are both available for this game. For us, Chet Decore, Ratsaki, Rob Holding, Ayu is back. Sam Johnstone, Edward, Lerma, and Ward. Ward is actually actually a hamstring strain, so Ward could be out for a while.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Right. That's a shame. I mean, to be fair though, I've been quite happy with Klein since she stepped in.
I agree. Possibly controversial.
Go on.
Here is my predicted 11. And I've said predicted 11 because I've got a lot of subs on that bench. And I feel like we could set up in many different ways. But I think just how we played against City, I think it worked too well to throw it away. So, not Johnstone, Hendo. Let me put Henderson in there. So, the team I've gone with is Henderson in goal with Mitchell, Gay, Anderson, Richards, Klein at the back, with Schlapp and Ozo filling in that midfield, with Ayu on the left, Elisa on the right, and JP up top. However, I would not be surprised if I saw us set up something a little bit like that. As well.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
What's your thoughts, Dan? And out of the two, which one would you probably prefer?
I mean, I wouldn't, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That's what if that's what Roy went for. Although, if I'm to be brutally honest, I think he'll probably go for Hughes over Ozo. Do I want that? No, but that's what I think he'd do. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, in terms of what I want, I would just like us to play a similar way to City, because I think the challenges we're going to face in terms of like the type of attacking football we're going to see is probably similar to City's as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be against starting a back five, because obviously, and also I thought Richards has been excellent recently as well. So
Yeah, that's my main take on going 5 at the back originally, because Brighton play very similar to City. It's just that they don't have the same players as City have, but they still emulate that same kind of play style. So I feel like playing how we played against City would, if it nullified City, in theory, it should completely get rid of Brighton's attack potentially. Let's say, or like make us maybe be comfortable, but that's just talk. That's just all talk, isn't it?
yeah, 100%. And I think like potentially a situation where if Eze does start, maybe Eze starts close to Mateta, like Eze, Elise, and Mateta are kind of like the three that we rely on in transitions, perhaps.
Yeah.
And then the other seven are like not static defending, but they're more perhaps defensive base, and then catch up with them a bit later.
Yeah, 100%. For Brighton, however, I've gone with Steele, with Milner, Igor, Van Hecken, and Veltman at the back, with Gilmore, Gross, and Lallana filling in that midfield with Adingra. No idea what that right winger's name is.
Brian Noche.
Yeah, the guy that said he wanted to kill himself, and Ferguson. Have you seen that article?
No.
I'll send it to you after. He said that he felt so bad at Brighton because nothing was happening, that he wanted to end it all.
Oh my god, poor guy.
But he's killing it now. So good for him that he's gotten out of that dark place now.
Yeah, good for him. Damn.
100%. That's what I've gone with them. They do like to play a few more young players. They've got Belieber, which I think will probably start maybe over one of these guys because he's been really good for them this season. They've got a young left back as well, haven't they? But I can't remember.
They got because I'm fairly sure.
I think it's Heedon Wattle or something like that. He's
they got
very good.
Hinchelwood.
That's it.
Hinchelwood, who's actually the son of the former player Hinchelwood.
Yeah, you could swap Matoma in for any of these guys. I think Adingra's killing it right now as well.
Yeah, I mean, if I was expecting to see
even Pedro maybe
Adingra on the right, Matoma on the left. I actually end up putting Hinchelwood instead of Veltman because I think Veltman's injured, and I put Verbruggen and Duncan as well. But the thing is that they've got so many players that can play in these positions at the moment that I could quite easily see either one of those formations.
Yeah. Let's jump straight into the defense. So yeah, let's do it. So I've gone purely based on us going 5 at the back, so take that into consideration when going through this. Brighton defend in a very rigid sort of 4-4-2 formation, very compact, very tight, not much space in between the lines, and they love to keep hold of them central areas. And if the ball goes out wide, they'll only commit minimal players out there. So, for example, if the ball is over, let me get a ball. So, if the ball's out here with Klein, for example, they'll send these two players, but nothing else really. Everyone else will maintain their position, which works for us pretty well because if we change our shape and be a lot more fluid, so if they come over like this, and then we instantly change up slightly, their whole bank, their three banks of players, I wouldn't say it completely goes out the window, but we can start to create quite a bit of space in this half space here. Like this half space becomes from this half space becomes this big, but then it goes this big, for example. So you can get a lot of players in a small space. Some things that I have noticed with Brighton as well, with their defending, they are dreadful at set pieces.
Yeah.
Absolutely useless. But, that doesn't mean anything because we're useless at attacking with set pieces. So, But one thing with set pieces that I have noticed, which even though we are useless at set pieces, we can actually take advantage of. I'll ask you a question with this one, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
When we take a set piece, what does Anderson do all the time? Where does he go?
Back post normally, and he tries to head it across.
Back post. And the reason I say that is because this way of how I've just said is how they defend in their banks, very tight. When they're defending a corner or a cross, all their big players are all here. No one's picking up the back post on either side. So the two corners they conceded against Chelsea were both into the back post. The corner they conceded against Arsenal was into the back post.
Yeah.
And that's just that's 3 goals in the last 2 games scored from corners, and that's just the back post as well. I feel like they have a very similar issue to Man City as well. In a sense of they've got good centre backs, but just like Man City, they are very slow.
Yeah.
They are very slow, and they do love a good old high line. So obviously, Dan will talk about when they attack their centre backs. Sometimes they bomb on forwards. Their fullbacks love to go forwards, even though it's Milner. He still does like a good overlap, and they do like to hold a very high line. However, when they defend, even though they've not got the pace to keep up with fast players, they do love a good mid block. So they do leave you space to run in behind. Obviously, with a mid block, allows you to press better, and that's one thing that Brighton are very good at, how they defend from the front as well. So I think that maybe playing 5 at the back could be a bit easier for us, because with the 4-4-2, they can commit 3 players to press at all times and still have a very solid foundation in the middle. So I think having an extra man for us, so having, all of these passing ranges for our defenders to recycle the ball will probably be a lot smarter for us because we've got more options, for example. But let's actually go into how they defend. And the first thing I'll talk about is with a De Zerbi team, I feel like defending is sort of an afterthought.
Yeah, 100%.
And I say that because if you look at their midfield, let's say Adam Lallana, not the best defender in the world, very weak on the ball.
Yeah.
Billy Gilmore, not the best defender of the ball, very weak on the ball. Belieber, decent defender, but not very strong on the ball. So their whole midfield is very technically good, very flair, very nice to watch when they've got the ball. However, when they don't have the ball, there are situations where when they try and defend, it's a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah, 100%. I think there is a stat. I'm just having a quick look myself now. In the league, they haven't kept a clean sheet since. They haven't kept a clean sheet all season.
Yeah.
And the last time they kept a clean sheet in the league was they beat Arsenal 3-0 away on. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry. On the in May, 14th of May was the last time they kept a clean sheet.
And the reason I say that is unfortunately I didn't have that much time to really look into this game, so I only really watched their last 2 games. And I saw, I think it was Billy Gilmore was running back against Arsenal when they were on the break, and Martinelli, who's not the strongest guy in the world, let me tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
He was dribbling and he mucked up one of his step overs and kicked it straight up Billy Gilmore and ran into him. You're thinking a DM, defensive midfielder, he'll see that ball, he'll read it, he'll touch it, he'll body check the man, pass it off. Martinelli ran through Gilmore and Gilmore fell over.
Brilliant.
So, you know, like that their midfield is so technically good when going forwards and with the ball. It's just that it's a complete afterthought for them defending. It feels like their midfield is so easily bypassable that a certain player that we have that I'm definitely going to be talking about is going to absolutely rip them to shreds. And his first name's Ebere, if you wanted to have a little spoiler there. But with saying that they're not the strongest when defending, it's very concerning, if you're a Brighton fan, I would say, that they're so aggressive when defending as well. I say that, so I'll give you an example here. I think there's an example of Van Hecken. I'll put these guys over here so you can see a little bit better. Let's say Ayu's got the ball and he's running towards Van Hecken and he's keeping his distance. But then the second that Ayu cuts inside, even if it's a body check, if it's a body feint, if it's a touch from the outside of the boot, he instantly slides that way. Like a instantaneous commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of times that I think it's actually something that De Zerbi's told them to do, because I can say every single person on Brighton's team does this. Even even right in the middle of the park, Ferguson does it all the time. If Anderson's looking to pass it to Gay over here, he'll properly fly in there and slide. But Anderson could quite easily just lift it over to Mitchell, and then he's just wasted loads of energy for no reason. The fact that they're so quick and decisive of what they do when defending is something that I think that we can definitely capitalize on. Because how many times have we seen Ayu run at a fullback, feint to go inside, and then cut outside again and run past someone?
Yeah.
Ayu does that. Elise can do that. I think Schlupp could do that as well. Like, I think even Mateta can do it after how he played against Man City.
Yeah,
So,
I don't see. Yeah, I don't see why not. I think 1v1 they are a bit sus.
Yeah, very sus. When they are being counter-attacked against, they are all over the place, and I'll show you that when I'm going through some images. And I know this is kind of attack, so Dan, please stop me if I'm going into your bit a bit more. But they love to play out the back. Like, they really love to play out the back. But I feel like with some of the injuries that they've got, they just can't do it. I feel like they're really missing some key players trying to play that certain way. Like, I think Webster is a huge miss for them, because him and Dunk could just hit them long. Like, if they're in trouble, hit it long. I think, like, Enciso, I know that Lallana's good, but Enciso can do good things and carry the ball throughout the whole 90, whereas Lallana fades to about the 60, 70th minute. I think every single appearance that Lallana's had, he's been subbed off before 70 minutes as well. So that just tells me his legs are gone. Mm-hmm. Solly March is probably one of their biggest outlets when just running with the ball as well. Veltman as well. And finally, Tariq Lamptey. Like, both him and Estepinian on that left back position, on that overlap, help so much. But because Milner can't pick up those really high positions, Steele's got one less person to aim at when kicking out. So they're sort of forced to play out of the back. But because these players are coming into the team, you've got these new players like down here, like Pedro and Hinselwood. They're not fully engrossed in the system yet, are they? So there's lots of loose ends and pretty loose passing when it comes to how they defend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, them playing so much football this season has really impacted them.
Yeah,
I had a quick
Europe.
look at the results of their fixtures, and it seems like ever since they started playing their group games, that's when they started to drop a lot of points. And I mean, let's not forget they've drawn to Burnley, they've drawn to Sheffield United. Do you know what I mean? Like they've definitely had a European impact on them.
Yeah, and I think that with what I said for how they defend so aggressively with the 1v1s, this stat is perfect. They've committed the most penalties against them in the league with 6. Only 5 were converted because I think Steele saved one.
Mm-hmm.
Errors leading to shots this season, 9. Errors leading to goals, 5.
Wow.
Saves per game, 3.1. Goals conceded per game, 1.8. Clearances off the line, 5.
Okay.
For a team that's supposed to be so good, clearly is not. And the stats show that. And I was pretty taken back by when looking at that. I can't lie to you, Dan.
Yeah. Well, I had a quick look at the stats as well. And, we only, in terms of ranking the league, right, we only rank 2 places below Brighton in terms of expected goals per 90. Two league places we rank below.
Yeah.
So, and bearing in mind how depleted a squad we've had this season, I don't think the gap last season, granted, they were an excellent team, but this season I do think there are, like you said, some of their personnel perhaps aren't maybe as in tune with it as others.
Oh, I think that.
And
I
I
think
think
that goes without a doubt.
Yeah, and I think them losing McAllister and Caicedo has been really big for them.
Yeah, they replaced Caicedo with Belieber, but they never really replaced the others. I think they definitely trusted in the youth, and that's good for them and their FFP and all that. But I think it does come to a point sometimes where you have to buy a bit of experience.
Yeah, no,
And not
100%.
completely because I think with Chelsea, for example, they went too young. Like they bought too many young players, and even now, Pochettino's still struggling with getting his best 11.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But how do we beat them? So as I said, they love a mid block. If Schlupp or Ayew can do a similar run to what Schlupp done against Man City with their slow defenders, we can get in behind and Mateta can score a nice little tap in. Also, because of their very strange way of playing, I know they only play 4 at the back, but they play their fullbacks still as wing backs, but they never really transition into a 3 back. So it's sort of normally a 2 back. And what that does mean is that Klein will definitely be in a 2v1 situation at almost all times. But that probably leads into, again, why I would rather play a 5 back. So then Richards can come over here and help. Gay can come over here and help. But one huge oversight that I guess De Zerbi has got in this setup is that Milner's always within touching distance of Adingra. So Adingra's always got an option. However, with their passing not being very accurate this season, I think in the opposition half, they've only got 73% pass completion all season, which isn't the highest, let's be real. But let's say, for example, that they pass and Klein or Ozo or someone intercepts it. If Elise maintains a high line, boy, look at that space that he's got to run into. And that is prime Michael Elise territory. Even if Milner's cutting the passing lane, just dink it over the top. Elise is more than good enough to trap that ball and kill it and then run on.
100%.
But, it's interesting to me that people are gassing up Brighton so much, but then they're just completely leaving out this one fatal flaw in their game plan. Granted, that's probably because their attacking side of their game is so much better that normally they outscore whoever they're playing, so you don't really have to care about the defense really. But
Mhm.
if we're solid and we can hold down their attack, then we might actually be instead for a decent game against them.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Let me quickly go and into some images. So when they defend and when they run back towards themselves, as you can see, they've got their four defenders, so they're right back, centre back, left back, and it's good to see. I think that's Gilmore over there. I don't think. I think that's Pascal Gross here, Matoma here, and I think that's the right wing. I can't remember his name again. But when they run back, remember what I said? They're all over the place when they run back. Dan, can you spot any space that is being left by Brighton and not being occupied by any of their players?
Well, yeah, on the edge of the 18-yard box.
Right here. There's no one around. And that's interesting because Declan Rice has got the ball here. No one's picking up Gabriel over here who's just taken the throw in. That ball gets popped inside here. Gabriel picks up the ball. Odegaard has a quick look in his... You see this vision that we're getting from Sky Sports here? He's got all this vision. He sees where he's going, moves into that space, and basically Odegaard takes a touch. He comes out. Odegaard takes a touch around him and goes whip. Unfortunately, he misses, but still, even now, there's no one in this space to even press him. He's got pretty much a free shot on goal here. And they leave this space open every time they're running back on themselves because they're all over the place when running back. Because how they attack is so fluid and so free-flowing that when the ball's intercepted or taken off them, they don't know where to go. They all have to try and run back into their positions before they defend. They're not very clued up to, if I'm over here, I need to defend this space. But they're not really that kind of clued up to that point yet.
Yeah, that's a very good point actually, because one of the things I will mention in my bit is that they are so fluid going forwards, and you're right. Like the difference between in possession, out of possession shape can be so big sometimes that that's a good point I didn't think of.
Here is an image of them playing out from the back. So I think that Steele has just gone here. Instantly, Arsenal have seen, press trigger. They've gone out wide. What are we going to do? Trigger, he goes here. He stays touch tight. He stays touch tight. And I think Saka is running in on Dunk here. So instantly, Arsenal have put themselves in a one-on-one situation with each one of their players. That ball goes straight back to Steele. In this frame, in their box, look at the amount of Arsenal players. They're 1-for-1 with Brighton players in their own box. Granted, if Steele was smart and just humped it long, they'd get out of this situation. But because De Zerbi's drilled it into them so much, play out from the back, play out from the back, play out from the back, and they haven't got the players to do it, Steele tries to be very smart and pass it in between the line here. However, Mr. Declan Rice picks up the ball. Pass it into Saka. Saka goes dribble, cut inside Odegaard, and he shoots wide.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
Still, it's a very easy chance that really it could have been avoided. Also, if Declan, it's probably a bit talking about this in a bit of hindsight, but if Declan Rice's touch here was a bit better, he could have shot straight at the goal. Look at where Steele is.
Yeah.
Like literally the whole net is free for him. So if his touch was a bit better, he could have just slotted it far corner maybe. But that's just being very critical. This is Arsenal on a counter. Look at where their defenders is. Lewis Dunk is the wrong side of Jesus. Van Hecken too far away. Martinelli's got way too much space. And I don't know what this guy's doing, but he's not even looking at the ball. He's looking straight at Rice. What is he doing? What is he doing? And he's not even running back. So they genuinely are absolutely all over the place when defending.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think, I can't remember who it was earlier in the season. I think it was West Ham. Like, they just sat back, hit them on the counter. And as you know, like they like to just hit balls over the top, running behind, and then that's it. And yeah, I totally agree. I think on the transition, they're terrible. I think that has been shown this season.
Oh, yeah. All right. Do you want to go into your attack, mate?
Yeah, let's do it. Right, so I'm going to do our Brighton's attack and what we can do to combat that. Now, I'm just going to caveat this by saying they will make a chance at some point, and they probably make a couple of chances. Like, to be honest, I watched their game against Arsenal at the weekend, and I was from what they were pretty poor that game. Like, I wouldn't surprise if that was probably their worst performance of the season. And yet they still did create one or two. They still created a chance which they arguably should have scored. So I think we're bearing that in mind, and that was against Arsenal at the Emirates. I think we need to accept that we're probably going to concede, if I'm to be honest. And if we don't, it'll be more out of probably luck or excellent goalkeeping rather than anything that we do. So I'm going to caveat all of this by saying we need to go after, like, we need to exploit their transitions.
Yeah. Also, I think Tristan said in our thing that we haven't beaten them in 5 years.
Yeah, we haven't beaten them at home in 5 years. But to be fair, that's because we normally draw. Like, I saw a stat earlier that said that we've only lost them once since 2005 at home. So yeah, we always just seem to draw against them, to be honest. So, but like I said, I'm going to caveat this by saying we need to sit back and hit them on the counter. That's basically going to be the basic premise, but you'll see what I mean. Yeah. So Brighton, what do they do? So just a quick overview. I'm not going to spend too long on this because they're very similar to the tactical last season anyway. But JC's absolutely right. They like to look something like this when they're in build up. So what they'll do is that the fullbacks will invert quite often, and they'll normally have some sort of pivot player. So for example, so let's say you got Van Hecker there, Dunk, Verbruggen or Steele doesn't really tend to get involved unless the play is way back here. So this is probably the point of engagement, I would say, because the thing is, you can go like Arsenal did, man marking. But to be honest with you, do I trust our players to do that? I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to vouch for more what Everton did, and Everton only conceded an XG to them of 0.5 in that game against them. So that was their lowest of the season. That's Brighton's lowest XG of the season. So that's who I've based my kind of idea on. But anyway, yeah, so they'll invert. So Hinshelwood and Milner will come very close. So what is quite normal for teams to do is normally have a 3 at the back, but Brighton are a bit different. They normally have 2. Normally this right-sided player, I noticed it with Veltman, not so much with Hinshelwood, but with Veltman, they tended to be kind of like here and here. So it was kind of like a 2-1-2 in that kind of sense, where the right back will invert when necessary. That's a tactic that I've seen at quite a lot of teams, like Arne Slot's final do that as well. And then generally what you'll then have is that you'll then have this kind of thing. So the wingers will always stay wide like this, and then Lallana and whoever the other midfielder is will kind of fill that gap. And that's basically how they'll build up. And obviously last season they were very well known for trying to bait teams into the press. So obviously, if you got all like your players over here, they're very good at like working the ball out. So then they can bypass your lines by doing that. I do think teams have kind of figured that out a little bit this season. So I do think you see that a bit less.
Yeah. I think that he's been found out a little bit this season as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think because his concept was relatively alien to most teams. I mean, the only other team I can really think of that is kind of that way in the Premier League, at least last season, was Ten Hag's United. And obviously, they've got their own issues. They weren't that good. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they still finished. Well, I mean, they still finished third, I suppose. So, you know, they.
And I think with, as you said earlier, with the European games, they're struggling because of the extra games, and also with this new season introducing the World Cup added time as well.
Yeah.
Like the amount of extra, like not on normal teams like us that aren't even playing in Europe, we've got so much extra football already. Adding that extra football already onto Europe as well is really starting to show again for Brighton now.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. So what they're trying to do now is that they like to do what I call like a third, well, not what I call it is, I believe it's called a third man run. So let's say, I don't know, let's say Van Hecker's got the ball here. They like to try and pass it diagonally. So, for instance, Van Hecker's there, so he's going to try and pass it like in this kind of like corridor.
Yeah.
And then what they'll do is like, so say for example, Van Hecker might ping the ball straight to Ferguson, but then what the other players will do, so like Gross will make like a run off of it, or Lallana will try and make a run off of Ferguson to try and well, yeah, it's just like a secondary run. So as Van Hecker's passing out, literally like as the ball's like kind of there, let's say in the past, Lallana's going to try and make that run, or Gross is going to try and make that run. And they are very good at doing that. And it's not just to Ferguson. It could be to Gross if the ball's on, and so on and so forth. What they like to do as well is that they do like to have, do like to overload. Although I have on the wings, but what I have noticed is that they tend to overload more on the left-hand side. And I think this is where they really miss Estupinian. Because Estupinian was really good at doing this. This season, it feels like the inverted fullback will underlap, and then whoever their attacking mid is will also do the same as well. So that's how they try to build overloads on this hand side. As I said, they do. I think they do it on the other side, but I feel like it's less frequent and it's less dangerous on the other side, and that's something I'm going to show in a minute with what Everton did. Another thing that they're happy doing as well, they don't mind actually like pinging balls over the top as well. So that's something that I would say like they've got some good strings to their bow in that sense. They've got different ways of playing in different phases. And the thing is like Adingra is good on the ball. Mitoma's good on the ball. So if they do manage to get, say, Mitoma isolated with Nathaniel Klein, I mean, no offense to Nathaniel Klein, but Mitoma was probably going to give him a hard time. But having said that, Mitoma did have a difficult time against Everton, so perhaps not. And Adingra as well. If he's isolated one-on-one, it's going to be a tough battle for Mitchell. But we just got to hope that they can hold up 1v1. And to be honest, in terms of like a brief overview, that's kind of what they do. Like I said, it's not that dissimilar to last time. Another thing that they might do is that whoever the striker is, whether it's Ferguson or Welbeck, might come a little bit into midfield. So then that leaves space for either Lallana or Gross or whoever is in that position to make up that space. And I think that's another thing that we did mention earlier is that they are very fluid. So let's say, I don't know, the ball's here. Let's say Milner's got the ball here. It could very well be that Lallana pulls to the left and Mitoma's there. Or it could be that maybe Mitoma receives it a bit deeper and Milner's pushed up. Or Milner's there and Lallana's inside. They are very fluid in that sense. So that's another thing to make out. And that's why, generally speaking, I don't think completely man marking them works. Because it's like an engine. the more moving parts you got, the more things can go wrong. So what I mean by that is, like, for example, if you're expecting Richards to follow them around the entire time, or answer to follow Ferguson around the whole time, if every player's got a player that they're following around the whole time, all it takes for one of them to mess up or get unfortunate with maybe the bounce of a ball, and then if they lose their man, then that's it, kind of thing. They're probably gonna create a good chance. So that's why I don't think a fully man marking one really works. But having said that, I don't think a full zonal one really works either. So what I'm going to show you is just a few examples of what Everton did.
Yeah, it's good to have a mix of both, really, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. So these, I don't know why it does this. So this is what Everton did against them. So they didn't totally sit off them, which is something I don't think we should do either. But I think what people tend to perhaps not acknowledge is that what people don't acknowledge is that you can stifle the opponent by cutting off lanes and then waiting for the opportune moment to then do it. And I think people are and especially in a game like this, people are so and don't get me wrong, I totally understand why. I'm not like slagging people off, but like I totally understand why. But I think what people want to see is literally like their player running straight at them, putting them under pressure. But I don't think that really works. I think you need to bide your time a little bit. But anyway, so this is kind of like, it's not a high press, but it's a way that Everton cut lanes. So you've got Calvert-Lewin there, and you've got Doucouré there. Now, so the good thing about their current position is that if Van Hecke goes there onto, I believe that is, I can't remember who that is, but if he fires it into there, Doucouré's on them. Can't really go over the top because that Calvert-Lewin's in the way, and by the time the ball gets there, Calvert-Lewin can either meet them or this player here can either meet them. And obviously, if Van Hecke passes it to Dunk, then Calvert-Lewin can meet there as well. So they've kind of got everywhere sort of covered. And this is the kind of area that Everton kind of engaged with Brighton's sort of attack as well. They didn't really tend to do it so much here. I mean, if the opportunity to press was there, they would do it situationally. But I don't think it was like in their game plan, okay, press them when they're in the box. This was the kind of area that they started to do this. So this player ends up dropping, and then Van Hecke passes it into them. Doucouré follows them. Follows the player. I'm not sure who it is. Maybe it's Gilmore. Don't know. But
yeah, number 11's Gilmore.
And then so can't pass there because Calvert-Lewin's in the way, and also there. Even if this player turns and passes it to Mitoma, I believe that's Mitoma. Again, player over there and player here. Even if they turn and go over there, by the time the ball gets there, this player can recover. Could go to Veltman, but again, McNeil's watching them. But again, Doucouré's not pressing yet, if that makes sense. So the only two options are there or there. So that's where he goes to Dunk. All the players again are covered. So every single player is covered. If they go here, McNeil's coming to face them. Go here, you've either got McNeil or you've got I think that's Onana. Again, if they go out wide, that was Ashley Young that day. This player here, Mitoma, covered. And then this player here again, you got Doucouré covered, so on and so forth. The only options on Van Hecke and the left back, which I believe was Milner that day. Receives the ball again. Now, what I was saying about those diagonal passes, there is absolutely no diagonal pass on. Ferguson's been covered. Mitoma's been covered. Even the winger who starts to make a run. So maybe they could have pinged it over the top. But then you've got Ashley Young 1v1 and then number 6 covering Mitoma. So they haven't created a numerical advantage there. So what they're doing is effectively just keeping them kind of like at arm's length. So it ends up, Milner just ends up going back to Dunk. Dunk then passes it to, whoops, what have I done there?
We've got dotted lines now.
Uh-oh.
We've upgraded.
Oh, right, wait, hang on. There you go. I did that. That must be new spacing. Anyway, so yeah, it's pass it to Van Hecker, but then Van Hecker actually divers on the ball a little bit because there was nothing on, and this is just as Decore started to like press him. So again, can't go there, could go there, but Manil's on him. Can't go there because Onana. That diagonal pass is being cut off. Okay, could go here, but again, this player here is watching him. And if this player did receive the ball and maybe knock it off to Mitoma, then this player here's got it. Do you know what I mean? Every base has been covered. And I don't see why we can't do similar. And the way they set up was effectively like a 4-4-1 or 4-4-1-1 or a 4-4-2. So that's well within our scope to be able to do that. And then, yeah, so then Decore then tries to come inside. So obviously we have the passing lane's been cut off to there. Van Hecker ends up passing it back to Dunk. Okay, then because of that, then Calvert-Lewin has now come close again, and you're just kind of slowly forcing them back. Really, that's what the idea is. Now, this was a position that they ended up being in because Dunk again doesn't have anywhere he can turn, because if he turns, he could get tackled by Calvert-Lewin. If he can't go there, he could go there potentially, but then again, McNeil's covering, so all you're going to end up doing is just end up being forced back again. Passes it to Van Hecker, who then gets covered by Decore. In this particular situation, Van Hecker does very well to just spin out of trouble and then pass it to Gilmore. But another time, Decore could nick that off him, and then if Decore nicks it off him, and although Van Hecker doesn't recover, you've then got to, yeah, exactly. So that's what that's what one way I would do it. Don't just go guns blazing at them, because that won't work. We know that doesn't work, and we've seen teams not do that this season and win. And I think this is a great example of Everton doing it, keeping them at arm's length, pushing them back when necessary, and then when the opportunity presents itself, then we can press them and potentially win the ball. That's one idea. Another thing we can do is just overload the wings. So Brighton, I believe, let me just double check this fact since it is on FB Ref. Brighton rank in terms of types of passes that are switches, bearing in mind that they make the second most passes of any team in the league. Only City pass the ball more than Brighton do per game. They make the fifth least. They rank 15th for switches. So what that tells me is that they're not. So in this position here, for example, where you've got loads of Everton players, right? They're not the team to just switch the ball over there. They're not that kind of team. And to be honest with you, I saw a couple of times where they did try to do that, and I feel like, I mean, I don't know if maybe it was just so happened the passes that I saw, but they didn't complete those passes either. So, yeah. So what Everton did was they overloaded the wings, especially their Brighton's left-hand side, because you've got the likes of Mitoma, you've got, Milner, who would have been Estupinian, but also, like I said, especially if João Pedro plays, they'll come onto this side of the pitch. So if we do that, I think that would be a good thing to do. So you can't see you can't see Duncan Van Hecker in this picture. But like I said, you've got on this side of the pitch, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of their players, arguably 7. I mean, you've got 3 of their back 4 on that side of the pitch. And I don't know where they are. I don't know if that's an Everton player or a Brighton player, but 3 of those players are on that side of the pitch. Again, we could do that potentially with a back 5. Maybe it could even be a back 5 at times. Maybe one of them has a player that they do man mark, and then it kind of becomes a hybrid 4-4, like a 4 at the back or sometimes 5 at the back, depending on the location of the player they've been asked to mark.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a great position again, because I believe what happened was, actually, no, I can tell you, they passed the ball to, I believe this was Milner receives the ball. Wait, is that? Yeah, I believe so. Or maybe that was Milner there. Whoever it was, can't remember. They passed the ball to Mitoma, but Mitoma receives the ball. Look how many players are around them. Look how many players are around them. So all Mitoma can do, I mean, he can try and turn, but again, he's got to get past 2 players immediately, and then there's another spare player and another spare player who could potentially come in then as well. And then also, and all he can do, he just passes it back, and then that's all they can do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it kind of goes hand in hand with what you were saying about them in transitions. I think as long as we can catch them in those positions, if we do then get the counter attack, I think that can be very fruitful. And like, for example, like a great example of this, I didn't get to watch the game, unfortunately, but if you look at the stats of when Brighton played Nottingham Forest are a team that we know. They haven't been at their greatest recently, but they played Nottingham Forest. Okay, Brighton did win 3-2, but in terms of the actual stats, Brighton created an XG of 1.5, whereas Nottingham Forest created an XG of 1.9. So this is what I'm saying. Like, we will concede chances, and I'll be shocked if we don't concede a goal, if I'm to be honest. But as long as we score more than them, we win, as the famous Michael Owen once said. So
I think the answer to that is no shit, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think as long as we are mindful, as long as we are brave and are mindful of that, I think that's potentially where we could get something out of this game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, another thing as well is man marking. So, like, for example, if this player comes here, I think that's Branthwaite follows him. Just make sure that they're not able to turn, because again, like I said, they like to offload that ball somewhere like that, ideally like into someone who is potentially facing the goal. And if you're forcing them to face this way, they find it a lot more difficult to progress. I can't remember where Ferguson kicks it, but I think he kicks it there. And yeah, that's kind of it. But like I said, you can kind of potentially see this like with a 4 at the back. But I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe we don't necessarily need it. Maybe Richards could play in, say, a centre back position when necessary. Like, say, I don't know, say that this was a player that Chris Richards is asked to man mark. Maybe follows him around, so when he does drop, then effectively he's then in the midfield, and then maybe drops back when necessary. I don't know, but those are kind of ways that I saw Everton do. And whilst Everton have played excellently this season, like they don't have players that are much better than us. They just have a very good manager who's very well drilled, knows their strengths, and uses their strengths in a really good way whilst minimizing their weaknesses. And in terms of translating that to Palace, I don't see why we can't do that. Why we can't cut away those diagonal passes, and even like I said, like when we're on the front, when they're on the back line, we're on the front foot. I can't see why Mateta couldn't do that Dominic Calvert-Lewin role. Like, he's not like he's running around like a mad, like a headless chicken or anything like that.
Yeah,
like there isn't huge amounts of movement there. And then maybe when you combine that with, say, Eze being in Decore's kind of like pressing when the opportunity presents itself, I think Eze is capable of doing that. So yeah, those are things that we're certainly not bad at doing. The only thing I would say that I would worry me a little bit is that if Brighton do kind of get in behind us and put in a cross, I'm not as convinced that we would deal with it as well as Everton. In fact, I know for a fact Everton deal with it way better than we do. And that was something that Everton did kind of allow them to do a little bit when the opportunity presented. They didn't mind them crossing the ball in too much because Everton were able to clear it every single time. Are we able to do that? I'm not 100% sure. But like I said at the beginning, I think we will concede. and I think it'll be more of a case of we need to go at them and just try and catch them on the counter when we can.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
that's pretty much it, really.
Finally, we're gonna do score predictions. I'd love to be confident, but I can't. So I'm gonna do something that is going to surprise absolutely none of you. I'm going 1-1.
Oh, right. I thought because the thing is, I'm not gonna lie. I think we'll lose, but I can never predict us to lose against Brighton.
No, you can't.
So
If anyone in the predictions predicts that we're going to lose against Brighton, they deserve like a points ban just by default.
15-point deduction.
Yeah.
We
don't want that to happen to you again, mate.
Well, I mean, I've already caught up, so it's no sweat, really.
Yeah. Next stop is to overtake Nicky, and then you can make him shut up fully.
Yeah. That I was eyeing up Nicky's point, so Nicky, you're next. But I'm going to go 2-2. I had 2-2 in my head before, so I'm going to say 2-2 because I think they're leaky. I think they'll create chances against us, and so yeah, 2-2.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's about it. Is there anything else you want to touch on, Dan, before we wrap up?
No, that's all good with me.
Cool. Guys, thank you very much for watching. This is TACT versus Brighton. The preview, I'm not really sure when this video is going to come up, but definitely come out before the game, and the preview is definitely going to be on Wednesday. So, guys, we'll see you there. Dan, you going to be there for fan cams after?
Yeah, I should be around. I definitely will be because I'm not at work on the Friday. So
sweet. Well, guys, thank you very much for watching, and as always, up the palace. Eagles.